Good evening, everybody. The weather has changed. It's now gone from the desert to the North Pole. Well, such is Britain. We live in such a temperate climate. At least the one good thing, the channel will start whipping up a bit and the waves will go, so they might wash a few certain people to Holland, let them have their fair share of it. At least they'll have more fun there. They can get stoned and not realise what a shithole the place is. Anyway, here we go. This is the day where years ago lots of things happened. Elvis Presley, the king, died. I don't know how old he was, and I don't know how long it was ago, but it was quite a while ago, I think, Elvis Presley. Did you like Elvis Presley? I'm not sure. I'm all shook up. You probably gathered we've got a bit of an audience here, because it's anniversary weekend, and I've got the future Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Davidson here, and the current wife. Right, so they'll be gobbing off. Michelle will be telling me what I'm doing wrong in a minute, and Fred will walk out holding his hands in his head because he battles with being a millennial. Anyway, this is the year. They won't know Elvis Presley. You don't know him, do you? He was all shook up. He actually died laying a cable. Imagine that, turning up at the pearly gates. Yes, I'm Elvis. What's that hanging out? Oh, don't worry about it. I've passed away. Right, so you be careful. So if you're strangling one out, you make sure your heart's safe. Now, do you know, yeah, this happened to my brother Bill once when he was in the Navy. Right, Bill, do you remember? Him and his mate were coming back. I think they were in Chatham, going back to the ship, and his mate had the tortoise's head out the shell. So he went over some woman's front garden and he laid a cable. And you know, like all good boys, you turn around and have a look at it, don't you? Have you ever done one in a toilet that just flies off on its own? Right, and you wipe your bum and there's not a bit of poo on the paper, is there? What is that? A ghost shit, isn't it? An ace. They sort of go like that, don't they? Anyway, he looked round and it had gone. And so they got torches out and were looking for it, right? And then they just went off and he makes it must be there. And so Bill and him went back again with torches to have a look at where this Richard III had gone. And a woman looked out the window and said, "What are you two doing?" And my brother Bill, quick as a flash, you see, Davidson, he said, "My mate's dropped his wallet over the garden and we're looking for it." And she said, "Well, that's all right. I thought it was one of them two bastards that shit on my tortoise." Imagine it coming through the cat flap. Okay, all right then. So if you've got, please try and pay attention and not text one another. Right, Usain Bolt as well. You know Usain Bolt? He did the 100 yards in 9 seconds. There you go. You know why? Tortoise's head was out the shell and he couldn't find a front garden. This is what's been going on this week. Gavin Williamson, who I think is a nice bloke, he does look a little bit school prefect, but he has a brain as big as Wembley Stadium. It's totally empty. No, he's a great bloke and he's in charge of school, and he said he's got to send children back to school. Boo! We don't want to go back to school. Look at me, I'm still a kid. I never used to go to school. My dad never wrote a note saying he can't come to school because he's ill. It was always mum. So I wrote one making out I was me dad. I did sign it actually, me dad, once. Was a bit of a giveaway. But because they'd never seen my dad's signature, I used to go fishing down Horton Kirby and Dartford and go home covered in shit and muck and mud. And my dad said, "Where's your where?" You need subtitles for that. Well, there basically was, "Where have you been?" And I said, "I fell in the school pond." And he was going to go down and complain. I said, "No, don't, Dad." But we didn't have a school pond. Anyway, I did leave school early. I didn't get any qualifications. It didn't really bother me, but I was lucky. I don't think I'd really want to be a student and get 4 degrees in something that's never, ever going to help me. They do it, don't they? Psychology, makeup, PE, anything that young girls want to do. And they think, I'll get a degree in what I want to do. I want to get a degree of being a ballerina. Get a degree in fucking looking after your husband. Anniversary weekend. Did I just say that? I'm kidding. Right. No, I got a job. I went to St Austin's Roman Catholic School for Boys in Charlton, and I wasn't a Roman Catholic. It was a bit of a fiddle because I was a good footballer. And I left at about 14 and a half. I was just 15 before I was supposed to get the cane again. I thought, I'm not having that. And so I left and I got a job in the co-op in Charlton. And I didn't last long there, a month I lasted there because I got the sack for putting me dick in the bacon slicer. It's not funny, she got the sack a fortnight later. Anyway, let's just talk about the serious things that's happened in the newspaper. Today, well not today, this sort of month is the anniversary of the end of the Second World War officially. With the victory in Japan. And that victory in Japan was won by dropping 2 atomic bombs on the 6th of August, a nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. And on the 9th of August, because the Japanese still couldn't work out what the fuck it was, they dropped another one on Nagasaki, and it vaporized and killed people. And they say, I've got it written down here somewhere, that's probably 100,000 deaths were caused from each bomb, probably more with the radiation, the cancer and the disfiguring that radiation caused. No one quite knew what it was about. Now, should we have dropped those bombs? Let's look at what was going on. First, let's ask the question, would Germany have dropped one on London? And I didn't say Nazis, Germans. We were fighting Germans, not Nazis. Nazis were the political party. You know, as I said before, them brave Argentinian soldiers weren't fighting the Tories. They were fighting the fucking British Army. We were fighting the Germans, okay? And we bombed the shit out of their cities. Bomber Harris took the thing. We absolutely obliterated and killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. We'll come to that in a minute. Those bombs, they say they saved lives. Well, that's not very nice if you're a Japanese grandfather watching his child be incinerated all those years ago. That's still in your memory. But before that, right, they bombed 67 cities, the Americans, and they totally obliterated half of Japan's major cities. They called them paper houses, so they dropped incendiary bombs, and the lot went away. And so they're thinking, now what are we going to do? The Americans and the Brits and the Commonwealth, as if you look at the BBC, it was mostly black soldiers that were fighting in the Second World War, is that they were going to take hundreds and hundreds of thousands of casualties, and they were going to fight from city to city to city with the Japanese reputation of protecting the fatherland, and there would be millions of people killed. So they dropped these two bombs. Whether they should have done it, I don't know. It has become a deterrent since, though, isn't it? If there's a big kid in the playground, he won't hit you if he knows you can hit him back straight away just as hard. So it has kept our nuclear deterrent. But they said it's the children. And I had a bit of a row with Keith Emerson's old girlfriend on the thing. She's Japanese, of course, and she's saying it's the children that suffer. Yes, the children suffer, but without children's and civilians suffering, there'll just be wars all the time. I know this sounds silly, but do you remember a Star Trek program years ago where Kirk and his people turned up at this planet and they said, sorry, Captain Kirk, said the head alien, you and your crew have got to walk to an incinerator. Why? He said, because you have been struck by war. So he contacted the ship, there was no damage. He said, no, we're fine. He said, no, it doesn't work like that. A computer tells people where all the where their bombs had hit, and you have to go and give yourself up and be killed, otherwise a real war starts. So Kirk ended that, and he caused a real war. And this bloke walked in with a child and said, this is what real war does. It's not convenient. It's not a chess game. You've got to have carnage and whatever. You've got to stop the carnage. Why did we bomb the German cities? So the people would turn against the politicians, so the people would demand an end to the war. Look at the Vietnam War, the American protest, that probably brought that to an end. The answer is war is looking shitty unless we realise how shitty it is. If it becomes convenient, then we'll just keep doing it. But what do we say about the Japanese? I remember Bernard Manning doing some dreadful jokes about the Japanese. But I've written this down. I want to get this right. Japanese, right, since then, has given the world so much, haven't they? Japanese economy is all over the place. And I'm guilty of this as well, especially with the jokes, we should not condemn this generation of Japanese people because of what their ancestors did. They have moved on. They don't have to make amends and they don't have to apologise every day. They show by their actions that they have moved on from the way they treated British soldiers, by the way they treated Allied prisoners. This generation of Japanese people has moved on, and we should not blame them for what their ancestors did. Perhaps you people from BLM should have a little look at that, shouldn't you, eh? Have moved on. Is it this generation's of people's fault that slavery was done years ago? Let's just have a look at that. And talking of which, Black Lives Matter and Japan, the victory in Japan at the end of the Second World War, Dawn Butler, that well-known MP card player, on Twitter has celebrated the end of the war in Europe. So well done, Dawn. And you're probably saying, I'm only taking the piss out of you because you're black. No, I'm taking the piss out because you're fucking stupid. So if you want to vote Labour, have a look at her and good luck. OK, see you, YouTube. Let's get over to www.jimdavidson.uk. And now, the funny stuff. I don't care, do I? I'm fucking funny. shitty tent. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how we laugh? Know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So this is it. You laugh when you're frightened. Yeah, you do. Anyway, there you go. You can't have. Hang on. Oh, yeah. That's all here. So, what's going on? Well, I mean, fucking hell, what's going on? The world has gone totally bonkers. Jesus! We can't swim no further. He said, well, get on this fucking oil pipe like me, you daft bastards. I don't care, do I?